research and development. And then you have the JVIC, Rural Valley Innovation Center, and then you have WCCOE. Organizations here. Yes, you wonder, who buys that, but people buy it. Yeah. Good. All right, so I'd like to introduce to you, formerly known by Rommel, the singer from Salem, Missouri. Because by Rommel. Yeah, no. And so he is a professional locksmith, ethical hacker, and we're grateful to have him here today. He's going to go through a little presentation about lockpicking and why is that important. He's going to tell us about that, and hopefully you'll have some questions and good experience about this. So, Rommel, for your education, a lot of these folks are new. They're from, so I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome, thank you. You guys got a rare opportunity to do a good job. Appreciate it very much. Like I said, my name's Rommel. I've been locked for 30 plus years. Got my own business, small things. I don't specialize in anything like that. We do actual control, we do cameras, we do hospitals, all sections, all. Then we're trying to concentrate on physical security with you folks. Might apply to what you're doing. So, I didn't bring a whole lot of commercial stuff, but I brought, like, for instance, this one here is part of all this passive stress you guys play on all the time. This is kind of one of the earliest versions of actual control. This is actually the lock. So you get an engineering and they find it's really interesting and figure it out, let me know. Then the side has the code here, 3494. So you can put your phone number. And then you have it. So there's the reset button. You want to pass it on the play with it. All right. Lots of professions. Die. Not very good physical security alarm. Schools in the nation are kind of sporadic. There's a lot masters in Kentucky. There's a couple in Nevada. But I'm becoming a dinosaur. But regardless, every time the power goes out, something called me. You can't get in the garage or access control is good. You don't start. You can't get into the keys. So it's actually kind of a good profession. If you work at Riding in a small town, it may not be perfect to you folks, but 6 figures is not uncommon. And you get to be your own boss. Insurance is not terrible. Schooling is pretty straightforward. I know JT after I got out of high school. So other than that, I like to open it up to inquiring questions. I'm kind of boring. So does anybody have any immediate questions about anything on this table or anything about locksmithing you might be wondering about? Yes.
He's watching alarm.
Yes, one example of one. I'll let you pick one after a while. So you're talking about Walmart has a couple of new locks out. They've got a kind of an unpickable version now. It's the easy set. If you set your own, if you've seen those, you can put them on and set your own keys. And the locksmith is not pickable. They're very cheaply made, but we don't move on because it's not time. But it's working off an old General Motors principle, 60s. It's a sidebar lock. If you'd like to go into depth, an hour later I can teach you how they work. But yeah, Walmart locks are the one I brought. He's holding it like it's like the cheap of the cheap. So if you're out in the battlefield and you've got penetration of any kind, you run the meetings, you'll smile. 30 seconds later, you're on your way. Just nothing to it.
So you got a bunch of tools up there.
Sure.
But is there like a set of like 5, would you say, or like what would a set of like a certain set that would get you 90% of the lock that you see?
So you have a lockpick lawyer. I'm sure maybe you've got the lockpick lawyer on YouTube. He's a smart guy in Overlook, and he's got all the big tests. So my test for my employees is I chain the tree in the yard and rainy days and only send mine doesn't go for 5 seconds. My mag be on TV. But to answer your question, I have 4 tools I use regularly. But everything you see here is a specialty piece. So for instance, this entire bag here, I'll pass this around. Oh no, you're about to wear bleachy tools? So there's a Japanese gentleman that invented these. They're a very specialty tool. I would give these to your flipper maybe. And they're a specific keyway. And they allow you to pick just that keyway. So it allows, these are all automated. And then Mark, so this is all to answer your question. No, there's a lot of specialty tools involved. Those will allow me to pick the lock and then I'm able to decode. So if you lost your keys today with your vehicle, I'm going to take your lock part on. Use that tool to make key in the program and remote. Next. Yes, sir.
watched the YouTube channel. I think his name was Lock Picking Lawyer. If you're
Yeah.
familiar with that guy.
I am.
He's pretty skilled, isn't he?
Very skilled.
He sells tools on
He
his.
does.
So how ethical is he? I mean, he's kind of showing people how to pick locks.
So I think I really enjoy the fact that he's doing that. He's progressed our industry. I've been dealing with crappy locks for my entire locksmith career. And the public needs to be, the crooks know it. So why doesn't the public get in on how easy it is to open your house? So I applaud him actually. He's not, I wouldn't call him unethical because he's actually, there are correct ways to secure things. Like your facility here, you got two-factor authentication. You know, without this keys. Your keys are restricted, so I can't even get the blank. If you hand me your key to that, I couldn't duplicate it because they're not allowed to register to buy that blank. So I'm like lock and clock. I'm gonna siren out and say, look, you're not as secure as you think you are. It's like you folks, I guess it's your password, your favorite saying, or whatever it is. I'm guilty of it. I use my password. Who wants to remember 50 password or password locker? So to answer your question, to the best of my knowledge, I am with him on that. I want to tell people as quickly as possible, hey, anything about Walmart, Menards, Home Depot.
I was just surprised how quickly you could do some locks and everything, and there's not that many secure locks, is there? I mean, from a professional like yourself.
Sure. Now, I'm nothing compared to that guy. He has done it for years, and he would be the super hacker of your group. You know, the guy that's hacked so far that you just give him stuff and he's kind of earned his stripes, so to speak. A large majority of the locks he picks, yes, I can pick it rather short time. If you want higher security stuff, like he can pick what you have here. That's a sidebar maybe though. I'm going to pick it at times, real little happen for me, but his skill kind of portrays it easier than it is.
Yeah, I can tell that, you know, what
yeah.
it was and how he was very active with his hands and stuff.
Sure.
More so, he knows the mechanisms behind the locks. That was taken years ago, and learning, you know.
Sure. Each one of these tools that you'll see, I'll pass around here. It's I can't kind of play an instrument. The more you do it, the better you get. If I don't do it for a couple of weeks, I'll run back, not square one, but it's a feel type thing, kind of knackish actually.
There's a real eye opener though about how it's
Really? Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because as you can see, I can walk. If you go home to your house tonight, you've got a quick set or a Schley or anything from any local hardware store. Junk. I mean, it operates, and there's always a saying that said, I want to keep an honest man on this. Well, in my world, you're either honest or you're not. And just keep still down thief. I sell time, so I have time. I'm going to do stuff that's unpractical. But then they get into this tool. I'm sure you're familiar. This is just a stainless steel version of your credit card, and that's to pull your latches and stuff back so they're not protected. I just keep that in my wallet and I open 80% of people just walk out of the house. Just have the keys right there. Good question. Anybody else? Go ahead.
So what's your, I guess, the most secure lock you recommend, you know, that we buy like in one of your stores?
The most secure lock. So now we're getting into what kind of, it becomes an interest question, is what kind of money do you want to spend to buy the time that you're willing to buy? So if you've got a $100 hollow core door which is full of glass, and I'm gonna walk through the tap with the end of a hammer, reach and unlock it, I spend $300 lock. So it's, I would buy the best quality, probably Medco, if I can just, at least they've got two shear rings, so it,
Can we take this out? Or is that running?
Oh my goodness. You got a question out somewhere?
Just do page down. Push the page down right there.
I'm not super familiar with the.
I guess you gotta tap to the slides.
But I have, sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm not super familiar with.
Where the slides at?
Yes, sir.
But I played a
Alt
little
tab.
bit with texture wrench and things like that, and I was kind of curious, how common is it for that kind of attack nowadays? Because I know that there's a lot of different types of locks.
I would say it's getting more and more. Because I'm running into a lot of people that, oh, I see that on YouTube. YouTube is a very utilizing my business, kind of.
Yeah.
But they tend to leave steps out that are really important, like the bet. You don't get hurt per se, but it doesn't work out like you want. And if you're interested, I want to get away to this. I have an opportunity to try to pick some of this stuff. Like I say, anything here you're welcome. Everybody's welcome to come up and dig with, and you're not gonna hurt anything. And then we'll set you up and show you. We'll get you a few locks. Yeah, okay. Yes, sir.
How'd you get into this?
Oh, well, that's an odd story. I started off out of high school. I pretty well knew I didn't want to be, I wasn't collegiate material. Didn't like school. I did well in school, but just wasn't my gig. I didn't want to be a mechanic, tried that. I didn't want to be a woodcutter like my pop. I didn't want to do all the manual labor jobs. So I found this that, oddly enough, be a locksmith in the back of a Popular Mechanics magazine back in the 80s. And he sent off the old card and they sent to this correspondence school. It cost me $600. And I got this little certificate of completion. And I was 18 the rest of my life. But it got me started. And it's piqued my interest. I was a mechanic. I took my dad's chainsaw apart when I was little. And I couldn't put it back together, so I was stuck with that. But other than that, it's just a kind of happenstance. But it really, I really want to use my fingers and my hands for something. I just didn't want to be greasing all the time. I'm just finding more and more people that, I don't know why they don't gravitate to it. I could really set anybody up. I got a business to get away.
Maybe.
Maybe. Anybody else?
What was it? Are you in the LPU at all? Lock Pickers Union?
I am not.
I was wondering if you got a belt rating there.
Yeah, well, I get 50 calls a day and I just make all night lots of everything to look at after 30 years. I can't say I'm burned out, that would be fair, but.
Yeah, I guess that's understandable.
Yes,
This is a really silly question.
no such thing.
Uh,
Have you ever been locked in what?
right. Well, that would be a good question to answer. So I might have been there. And this is a really silly question, but do magnetic locks also, is that also considered in your realm too?
Yeah, I put on lots of them, but I don't, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's kind of just what I was gonna ask.
I don't like magnet locks for a couple reasons. One, they don't go to the top of the door and they just warp the door all pieces. People get yanked on football players, anybody can hold that handle, they got a good grip for the ADA, they just give you a hard time.
Right.
Two, if you don't have a good battery backup, let's say your power goes down on Friday evening, everybody's gone.
Right.
Your door becomes unlocked as soon as your power gets. So if you don't keep that battery backup going, people don't.
Right.
It'll be it's laying back there beeping, it's going to be resetting all the doors. So I like the mechanical security, it's so much easier anymore to do so. And the mag locks are here to kind of, we use a lot of hospitals, traffic control, hallways and stuff, just kind of keep people corralled with ER for security.
It's really not so much.
Yeah. Yes.
And then do you want to answer how do you been locked in that question?
I will tell you a story against me. I would say it's funny.
Okay.
When I first went into business, my wife and I just been married with me here on Christmas Eve. On the way back, we got in a snowstorm. I wrecked my truck into a pile of snowbank. Didn't hurt none, but I was stuck. I had a 2-mile walk to my house. I get to my house and realize I have nothing. So I kicked my front door in frustration. Retrieve a set of lockpicks, pick my van, get it started, back it out the driveway, and get it stuck sideways in the road. I called my neighbor. He pulls me out with his 4-wheel drive, parks me. I knock on the door the best I can. I go get my wife. In the meantime, my uncle came by and filled a truck full of wood. She was out, and I didn't know if she home for I did. Called the police. She thought we broke into the door, got kicked down. So I get home just in time to meet the sheriff's department. I explained away in my own house, but that's the worst. Anybody else? Yes.
So I know, I think I know the answer to this, but in the movies, you always see someone picking a lock, they can do it like in less than 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So I know you're a professional, so on the average lock, how long would it take you to get into a house?
For me, it's anywhere, open a vehicle is anywhere from 30 seconds to 4 minutes. The average home, if I'm not hitting the kind of security at all, is about 3 to 4 minutes. That includes setup time and everything. They go faster, they go slower. My time can't work a lot, so if I don't open it in 10, I'm just going to go with the cylinders and just keep walking. Right. And that's most professional ways to do it. The TV has been great. It's cool because it's not letting secrets out, but it's not so cool because everybody thinks it's just walked up to the door and snatched your fingers. All guys don't even have attention. They just flip them out and the door's open.
Yeah.
But yeah, the answer question it's a little bit more fair than what's going on. Even the really cheap stuff has some security to them. It takes a little bit of knowledge, but as you'll find out, you get a chance to play with some of these tools. It's just not that bad. But it really kind of makes me sad because, as we said earlier, people aren't really excited about security until it hits home. They come home, the door's open, all their stuff's gone. They realize, no, they just wasn't, they didn't have any type of security whatsoever. And insurance companies like to have locked doors and you don't leave your keys in the car. So it's convenience versus reality is how you live. Most people, and I'm sure you all found that nobody wants a long password. Back at least they did this in some other, like, how I'm doing. Anybody else?
Do you go outside in?
So you can actually, the lock will talk to you. So you got to see this. You got to keep this part here seated. And put down pressure here. I'll do this. And then the seal is spring. And the one's fine is the pressure. I like that was the one fine. So that's good. You know, quick. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm gonna try to get the slide to move here. Give me another little point. There we go. There are really no requirements. I've probably already got most of them. The main thing I run into, this is a very attitude based. You need to be good with fingers. You can't really get by with dumb fingers. You're working a lot of the little parts. Your eyesight needs to be halfway decent. Again, with aptitude, that's basically a self-test whether you want to spend your time working with your hands. I spend a lot of time outside. That was nice. I'm not picked up in an office hardly at all. I drive a lot. Problem solving, that's probably in your bag. Since you're hackers or in your computer world, it's not going to be any different. Trustworthiness. This has been my biggest thing for hiring employees. And trustworthiness, that's your background checks, that's your fingerprinting. I haven't had any bad news yet. I had one employee that went to a local school, his background check hadn't come back yet, and he was on the sex registry, and the principal called me. And that was not a good day. So that would be a major, you'll have to have a background check. And then customer service. Introverts don't do well with what I do because they're normally really good at what they do, but they're not good people. Use that word. My wife's a great example. I'll let her answer the phone. She runs all my customers because she gets real blunt really quickly. So if you don't like working with people, this is really not a job for you because you will get, when you get to that customer, they're going to be mad, and they're not necessarily mad at you. And you have to calm them. A little bit of psychiatry. You want to calm them down. They don't know what happens to everybody. Go ahead and quote your price, hopefully beforehand. They don't like getting that price surprise. Types. So I'm probably 80% commercial now. Residential and some automotive mixed in. I do quite a bit of safe and vault. I'll open probably 3 to 10 safes a month. I don't do any of the forensic. That's a specialized field. That's kind of interesting. If you want to get into it, you'll be working with law enforcement, but you may have to do. And you will go in and let's do worst case scenario. Say you got a murder. We had one in Salem 10 years ago. There was no source of signs of forced entry. They call in somebody that takes it a lock apart, and they're going to decide to go to the honor microscope where it's been picked, or a tool been used, like some of what you see, because these tools are weak marks, the keys don't. It's kind of an interesting field. It might tie in quite easily with your computer skills. So the forensic is actually a real viable, but you don't do that much in the smaller towns. Springfield, West, I'm not sure. Where they may have one or two investigators, to do forensic locksmithing.
Yeah, just you.
No formal degree needed. Locksmiths are licensed by state. So Missouri doesn't require a license. I carry a liability insurance and a bonding for my customers because a lot of my schools and stuff require at least that. Illinois, they're really big on a locksmith license. You take a couple of tests, and what you get is for life usually. Arkansas, I think, requires you to retest every so many years, but that's just kind of a state to state. I would say maybe 50%. Missouri doesn't, Nevada does, Oklahoma doesn't. So you just got to work by state for that. High school diploma equivalent, trade schools, vocationals. I'd like to see, Wes, you and I at some point be able to bring this a little bit more in mainstream because there's just not very many trade schools or vocation programs for what I do. And again, I don't know why. It's a needed skill. Apprenticeships. Used to be, if you want to be a locksmith, They were really tight-lipped. They didn't have a union, and they wanted you to be under them as an underling. You paid the locksmith to become a locksmith. I don't do that. I have a hired employee. I pay him a good wage, keeps him upbeat, and then he learns as he goes. And after 10 years or so, he'll hopefully be able to take over for me. Let's see, certification, we talked about that. Depends on the state typically. Tools, I brought some of the tools today. I have about probably $100,000 in tools in my truck. A lot of software I don't need to have anymore. It costs me quite a bit. Key programming software is usually software based. I belong to several locksmith apps. I pay a fee, and I can get key codes. If you got a key code on your key or your combination lock on the back of the serial number, I can run that, and they will give me the combination. Safety gear, safety goggles to keep the key machine stuff out of your eyes.
I didn't see up there my favorite one, the lock cutters.
Oh, the universal tool. I pack a set of those, but the portable grinder with the disc on it now has superseded the old, and it's like into your storage shed. For me, I'm self-employed. Been that way the whole time. I really enjoy being self-employed.
That's not a question. Why? So I always buy these cheap locks. Yes. You said they always, you put your code in like heck, and I'll use the name or something. After about at least 6 months, they just weren't working for me. Why is it?
The baby's not long. You use the same code over and over, and I come up with some talcum powder and go, oh. So some of the stuff on YouTube doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, if you guys are using the same code over and over and over, you've got enough employees, and you probably get enough numbers pushed not to worry about. But I've walked up, I guarantee I've walked up to the 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's all faded out. So you should change your keypad out somewhat regularly. Employment, you have institutional locksmiths. So hospitals, government institutions are big about this. They will hire you, and you will become an employee. They do your withholding tax and everything. You get a specific pay. There's usually insurance and retirement, some other things with that. I've made more money being self-employed just because I get to pick my hours, which is all the time, 24/7 there for a long time. But you pay your own insurance, you pay your own. You gain experience normally with the OJT. You have to do it to learn it. This won't be a book learning experience. If you don't have hands-on, it's kind of like defusing a bomb. You want to read it all day long, but that red wire may not be the red wire. Build your reputation. I've probably got I'm up to about 3,000 names on my phone in a town of 20,000. And so you get to know everybody. It's really nice in some ways, but they catch you in Walmart and show you their locks. And associations. There's SAFTA, which is a Safe Technicians. There's ALOA, Associated Locksmiths of America. You've got a couple more. And when you're starting out, maybe joining one of those would help you. For me personally, it didn't pan out. So I just didn't. I guess I wasn't friendly, but they get together every year in Vegas. You guys are familiar with, you do, Wes, they still do the pin parties in Vegas. Did you go to that one last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll do something similar in the associations. They'll have contests if you want to get good at lockpicking. Yes.
Is it common for dealerships to have a locksmith? Because I know I had a key fob that died or I lost it. And
Sure.
To get it reprogrammed, you have to take it to the dealership, it costs you an arm and a leg. Or is that just people in the dealership that can press a few buttons, or are those actual locksmiths?
So 2 things. The dealers will all be able to make keys usually to their own stuff. And oftentimes they'll have to order here. As of late, they've been having to order because they don't stock all those different fobs. Their programmers should be able to program, and oftentimes they'll have a computerized code machine that will cut their thing. They'll have a specific tool just for that. I do a lot of work for dealers on over they'll be trade-ins. So Ford dealership trading somebody's Toyota, don't have keys. So that'll be a locksmith typically. The city guys, the city locksmiths, they just park their van for the weekend at these auctions. And they come off the trucks. The driver may have lost him. They'll make a day's wages in a couple hours or maybe a week's wage, just make keys and stuff right off auctions. So that's a really good place to be. And I think I don't know if Springfield has an auction or not, but anyway, up around St. Louis, there's lots of auctions. I didn't want to make the drive, but they're just automotive specifically. So I was small enough, I had to pick lots of things to put in my basket, but you have specializations in automotive, commercial, institutional. And I was going to go work for the prison one year, and they had a locksmith opening, so the prison's hiring locksmiths and train them. But I found I wasn't going to be cutting keys. I had to inventory my tools. I walked in and these two guys wanted to get screaming at me, wanted me to let them out. I was like, nah, it's not my gig. Not my gig. Challenge in the field, of course, the heat, the cold, but you got irregular hours. I for the first 10 years, my average was 80-hour work weeks. I got calls weekend long. You name it. People say they start the question. I bet you never heard this before. I'm like, yeah, lay it on. We'll see what happens. Emergency calls kind of falls into that. Keeping up technology. Dealerships, cars especially, like to change their technology every year, and whether they need to or not. And you got to buy that software. So they like that continuing money. You kind of become a slave to the automotive industry. Ethical legal responsibilities is basically just. I decided a long time ago that my reputation and my name was the first thing I could lose. And that was the easiest thing to do. And I've taken losses or walked away from jobs if I didn't feel they were ethical. Typically, it involves spare marital fights. You have two people into it. She calls, he calls, and I'm like, look, is your name on the title? Kick the door down. I'm not going to help you. People are kind of aggravated with me, but I've kept my reputation intact, hopefully. I don't get too many people mad at me, but and some people you just can't help. But you really need to decide early how honest you're going to be, because, as you've all found out, a thief will dislike you when you won't be on their side. But as soon as they'll stab you in the back every time. So I've lost a few friends over the years because I wouldn't. Hey, Grandma lost her keys, and Grandma wasn't supposed to have keys, things of that nature. I get 2 or 3 calls a month from my elderly saints that are no longer allowed to have their license. And if the family member will call me and say, hey, Grandma can't see to drive, don't make her keys, we've taken them away from her. 2 minutes later, I'll get a call, hey, kids took my keys. So I have to gently let Grandma down, Opportunities for growth, of course, specialization. You can pick a specific genre, but you're going to have to get in a little bit bigger city to take care of that. Springfield, in this surrounding area, I think probably has, I'm going to guess about 6. There's Papa Lock, 2 or 3 specialized guys and gals. And saying that, my sister, before she passed, she was an excellent locksmith. She was very, very good at it. So it's not gender specific. I encourage more and more women to get into it because it's actually really good business for them. Starting your own business, teaching, training. I'm trying to get a little more of the teaching and training. I'm tired of crawling through attics, to be honest with you. And the consulting would be nice later in life. And that's about it for me presentation-wise. Any more questions since I've been rambling?
I had a situation about a month ago. I rented a car, and when I got on the plane, I realized the file was in my pocket. So when I landed, I called them up and said, I'm on the city right away, but we've already got one made, it's $250. That was an expensive experience.
It's expensive. It can be.
Yeah.
Very much so. I'm going to stick these up. Here's a lock plug spinner. Oftentimes locks will pick the wrong way easier than they'll pick the right way, so you can continue to lock it. This tool will allow you to spin it back the other direction faster and relock. That's what that is. And the rest out of there are just various lock picks for the profession. Does anybody want to play with? Where's the lock picks got to? You have any pictures yet?
Came back to me and I decided to do it again.
Okay. Nobody was
I'll take
interested.
this one and move it between one.
No, let's see. How about the master paddle? Okay. How are you doing? You kind of get some instruction, you kind of get a feel for it?
Are the center cut keys harder to pick than the traditional?
They're not as bad. So there's a tool, if you get around to it, at least in the box, when you see it, has a tool specifically for it called flags.
Yeah.
They work really good for those. Some can be more secure. Some of the most secure things I've run into are Vegas pinball machines from the 40s. They're just full of pins. I mean, loaded, ball bearing, everything else.
Yeah.
So they're kind of interesting mechanically.
Is there a list somewhere I can access of like the most commonly used locks? Like if I want to get into leashes, for example, I don't want to just start buying leashes.
So mine is real user specific. I would have a customer call and say, can you make a key to my vehicle now? The next day, release you to them and make a job, make money. So you're in the, just kind of out in the wild. I would get an SC1, KW4, KW5. That's to be your 2 main locks for your. Then I can write it down.
Kiwi,
Quick set, Chalet. Those are probably the only 2 you're going to see on the market right now. And if you want that little padlock, it's pretty handy for picking master padlocks. Additional questions? I talk fast, things go by quick.
So what did you say was the best over-the-counter lock device?
Now you're talking. Over the counter, none. But I would, if you held me down and beat me, and made me pick one, I'd pick Schlage. At least they put a few mushrooms in it.
Where would you buy that at?
My shop.
Good shot.
Yeah, that's smart. There you go. That's smart.
Well, here I'll get into this. So here's the economics lesson right quick. So most lock manufacturers, they start the process with putting together a pretty decent lock. They've got metal springs, they protect them against salt water, they put together a nice package of Schlage quicks that most did. Walmart comes along. Walmart's at the front counter. Walmart says, hey, we want to put your product on our shelves. And so they go back to the R&D department and say, hey, what's it cost us to manufacture the lock that we sell to the public? And they said, well, our bottom dollar, we've got $8.50 in this. We can't go on that, we're losing money. They go back to Walmart and says, nah, we want to buy $1 million of your product, but we're going to pay you $6. And they go, just a second, go back to R&D department. What can we do to cheapen up our product, still make it look like a good lock and sell to Walmart and make it look? Well, we can take the spring and make it out of some other brass. We can make this piece out of plastic, and it looks exactly the same. When you get off a Walmart shelf or a Lowe's shelf, you buy it from me, I'm going to have the original metal pieces that's going to give you that 3 to 5 year warranty your lifetime, and they're going to be plastic. And people don't, you're not going to know that, but they don't know every piece of industry that you touch, your appliances, John Deere mowers especially. Because I went to a John Deere dealer and bought my mower, and I went and compared that mower to the one sitting on the Lowe's lot. And the difference was, once you put them side by side, it was just astronomical difference, because Walmart had that negotiating power. Yes, sir.
How quick or soon the new platforms laws come out? Like maybe let's say that there's a breach in this entry page. How do you stay there? Let me rephrase my question. How quick the new platforms laws come out?
So, in other words, how quickly do I have to keep up with what's coming out? Yeah. So, money making in the industry, again, let's sort of go back to that lock keyway, SC1, has been in production since, let's say, about 55, 60, 1960s when they changed. And they're still kicking it out. They lose their patents, and so the Chinese and everybody else can go ahead. And so the patent office will allow them to have that patent, let's say, for 30 years or 10 years, or they negotiate. Once you lose your patent, you can back make your product. And all the locks I've brought today have lost their patents, and everybody makes them. So to answer your question, I'm going to say 5 years, maybe 10. Schlage has now come out with the next line, Keyways, that company is called. And those are C1s, S1s. They have an additional picking, anti-pick feature. They've patented that key blank, so I think 2035, somewhere in that range. So that means they're exclusively manufacturing that piece. No one can copy that. And so help me, Wes, is that there's 2 ways to get your patent. There's I forget the 2 patents, but anyway, there's a couple ways you can get a patent. One's on your design and one's on your product. And so they're protected now, but they sell that as a premium to make their money between their patent dates, because they know they're going to lose it unless they get to re-up. So that blank that fits that key there costs me 39 cents. I buy that same blank, a Schlage blank, it'll cost me $3.50. Yeah.
Are there any unpickable mechanical locks?
There is no such thing as an unpickable mechanical lock. There are quite a few of them that you will be very flustered trying to.
Yeah.
A lot of people are, like you said earlier, the gentleman to watch for the unpickable stuff. They used to have a challenge with Atlantic Yale, had to do back when he first got this stuff. There was a guy back in the 80s that could pick nearly anything, but that's a step ahead. They've got a couple of guys out there now that are R&D with 3D printing. They're coming up with some really interesting designs, but nobody's picked yet. But I think the electronic industry is pretty much going to take it over. I think the mechanical things is kind of going to pass at some point. But like I said, power issues cause we'll do at least one mechanical backup somewhere.
Yeah.
But
How about the lock guns? Do you use those or?
I didn't bring one in. I've got 2 of them in the truck. And kinetic energy is a wall effect. They work relatively well, actually. They'll work upside down, sideways, or either or. And basically, it's just like now I can draw, not really well, but if you want me to go in depth on how a lock is made and what's going on, we had to do so. Wes, I don't know how we get that big enough, but you got a marker board, mark on or anything?
Yeah, right here.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna get out of the way of the camera. What we're gonna,
I could take that.
okay.
I think it'd be interesting to have like the basic concept of how a lock works.
Sure, be happy to draw it. So everything, I'm left-handed, so I apologize. See it around me kind of tough. Everything you're holding today has a barrel, an inner and outer barrel. This will be your keyway. And they mill holes, and all manufacturers will have these holes they mill, a certain size and diameter, and they'll all have, they pick on their spacing and depth. Spacing will be the distance between holes, and the depth is how deep the pin stack is going to be. So let's say if I had a matching key to this, and I had some cuts in that said key, as the pins fall in place here, there are different lengths depending upon how high, deep they cut the key. So as you slide this in, these are spring loaded. I'm going to put these on top of the cap to hold it in place. And then a pin on the bottom. And then this pin goes in on that line, it's called the shear line. And all those are aligned. They're all the same height, the key will just be flat. And it allows that barrel to turn within itself. So the picking you're doing now, you're actually taking your pick and you're picking up that pin. And when it gets to that shear line, it's hanging just slightly. So no matter how well they make that lock, the tighter the tolerance, the better. No matter how well they make it, it'll always give itself away. So it defeats itself. And you're holding that position when you work on the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. Now, the higher security, what your stuff is you'll have not only this going on, you'll have your barrel. And on the side here, they'll have an additional feature of the spring load. This sticks out. It's 3D here. This sticking out into a notch, if I was to look straight on, there's a notch here. And this piece here is inside that notch and keeps it from the barrel from turning. Does that make sense? And that has to go in. So the side of your key, not only will you have your normal key here, the side of your key will also have a feature with bumps. And it interacts with the side piece. It locks in two places. Not only will it lock here, it also locks here. And then Medco come out with one where they turn their bottom pins into sharpened chisels. And they have a 90 and 45 degree turn. So when you stick your key in, when it interacts with that, the angle cut has to be cut on your key in such a way that it twists that pin. And that pin will have a hole in it in a specific spot. And when that hole lines up with this spring-loaded piece, then all the holes line up, and the pin is lifted and twisted and lines the hole up, and both locks have to do it all at the same time. So it gets more and more difficult as they add more and more features.
I saw a lock the other day and the key was, like almost like a chain.
Yeah, that's that. So what they've done there, a chain lock, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, this is really.
So it is basically a chain, and the cuts are cut into the chain. It's a turn. So they've got their key. If I was looking down, the key actually turns like this. Here's what you can get a hold of. And this is all like chain mail. And the reason they've done that, if you insert that in the lock, you've got your lock we talked about earlier, and your barrel, and the keyway is curved. And they do that so you can't put your pick in the back part of the lock and work on it because your pick can't turn the curve. So what they come up with, they come up with a chain pick.
They came up with chain pick.
Yeah, so
You know, they still pick them up.
they are. So one of the slickest, I don't know what to call it, the pin lifter. So you've got your barrel here, and you've got your holes cut again. Let's say it's a 3-pin lock, and you've got your other piece on top of it. And my drawing's horrible, so please forgive me. And then these are chambers, they're spring loaded. So I have a tool that goes in. The manufacturers made a mistake and they made these too deep. And I'm able to go in and pick the pins up and pick them all the way to the top. So it's like they're not there. And then I'm turning that lock because all the pins are up here. The bottom pin, the top pin, the springs all shut at the top of this. So the way they defeat that is they've made this section shallower. So there's no way you can push all the material up past this line. But it's taken them a decade to do this, so that I've got thousands of locks to along with that. Questions?
Is there any way you could do like a quick demo of picking one of these locks just to see
Sure.
the process?
I don't know what we got left here. Good question. Well, you have that works good. Okay.
How about we handcuff you?
Yeah.
I'm not a bad escape artist. I didn't have an handcuff key on my ring. I can tell you all about it. That's one of those books I had as a kid. Awesome, you know? But he always had a trick up his sleeve, I guarantee you. So this particular tool for the master padlock, master has 4 spaces, and I think there's, how many depths? 8 depths. And so you're familiar with, most of you are familiar with the tension wrench method. If you're not, raise your hand, I'll come and show you. I think you are, I think 3 or 4 you maybe. So you're going to put pressure on this like I'm trying to pick it. And then I'm going along, and all those pins out there a while ago are upside down. I'm going to push it on. Was you able to get it open earlier?
I got it to move, but I didn't get it.
Okay, so you're pushing until you feel that click. It's called single finger picking. I believe the locksmith lawyer does this quite a bit. And you go to 3. I'm sorry if you can't see, it's kind of tiny. There's a pick, and flip that move. And 2. What you call this? It turns.
It took me about 5 minutes once I figured it out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's real tactile.
It's
Yes.
Are you able to show off anything like rate picking or like phone picking here?
So-
or, like explain it on the.
Yeah, I can explain it. Rate picking is, the bump picking is probably the easiest to learn. Let's not get oh, sorry. You too.
Media crew.
Yeah, let's watch this. Good?
Yep.
So, I'm going to do the 3 good version again because these are simple. Lock manufacturers, like we talked about earlier, their cuts are, the valley here is where the pin actually resides. And these cuts on the side aren't even necessary. They just make the lock insert easier because the pins will rise them down, those salty. I laser cut, but I can eliminate those, but the key sometimes will pull out because I'll have a ramp style. I'll go from 1 to maybe 5, my key becomes a ramp, and you don't want to pull it out in mid-turn. So that's kind of the reason those are there. They trap those pins in place where the keys don't fall out. The bump keys will take a manufacturer's specifications, and they will cut a key that is the deepest depth of any pin in that stack. So your key ends up looking like a key with all numbers, let's say number 9. 9 is the longest pin possible. When you insert it into the lock, you leave 1 pin's distance from each one. And so the point of each one is riding against the resting section of that pin. So let's say your pin looks like this on a bigger section, and that point of that key is resting right there. Leaves it's ready to be bumped, so to speak. You come out here and you put tension on this. I use a screwdriver, I just put it through the handle here. And the tension you pick is just, that's the knackish part. You put tension on that and you whack this, I use a screwdriver handle, nice big rubber handle. And when you whack that, this right here will impact that, and just like a pool cue, it will pop, and that kinetic force will transfer to the pin that's above it. Those top pins we talked about that are spring loaded, and it will rack it up above, all of them at once, up above that line. And it'll turn immediately. So manufacturers fight them, they say bump resistant, you see it on packaging. What they do is they'll make this a conical hole, and this right below will be slightly smaller. So this right here, the top pin, cannot fall all the way to the bottom and chase its mate. And so you have a slight space in there, just the slightest. So when I hit out here, I never get that kinetic energy transfer. And my pool balls are just slightly apart, but with the playing hard, there's just enough to lose all that kinetic energy that gets transferred out to the walls and never just spring. That's the bump. If you ask me about one other. Raking. Raking is this method done at the fastest speed you can do it. You're providing your own kinetic energy. You're trying to move as many pins as possible in the shortest amount of time and get lucky. But pins will tend to stick at this line when you're raking. You got the pressures right, and they will. They just sit there. It's odd. They don't really float. They'll kind of sit there. The raking method works really good on blocks that have open keyways. So you'll see your keyway here is probably a Medco. Pick here. Oh, Pat, you've got a really good padlock that you brought. Can I use your padlock for a presentation? That's when I get to talk, I'll start the front and work your way around. You'll notice when you look at this padlock here, the keyway is not going to be straight up and down. This doesn't hunt well the bumping of that because it's difficult. Your tool fills up your space. It's too small. So open keyways, Quickstep's got a good one, Schlag's got a good one. Their openings are large and their pin stack's easy to get to. So the more they open that keyway up, the more it's easier to manipulate. Because Medco and some of the others, as you get that keyway smaller and smaller, that tool has to be machined thinner and thinner. And at some point, you have to put more force, you need more force than necessary to open it because the material no longer holds. So making them out of stainless now. I've seen some titanium. I've seen everybody trying the experimentals to try to find stronger materials to defeat that what they're trying to do. Next, yes.
Is there anything you can speak to digital locks or technology that would be used for that? The digital locks.
So I put in lots and lots of digital locks, and some of them are fairly easy to defeat depending on where to put their solenoid. Oftentimes they don't have their solenoid, and that's just the normally open closer voltage. And so if that Quickstep, for instance, came out with one that we were picking up a long time with a thin paper clip, we were sliding it up underneath the cover, short the solenoid, boom, he's in. And manufacturers oftentimes, Delco Union, they're a 5000 series. I've got a really small 3/32 bit. I drill a little bit of a noticeable hole. I reach in there and manipulate the locking ball. I bypass the digital altogether, open the door, put a liquid seal back on it, never realize there.
Is there any other technology or any tools you use for that?
My safe cracker, I've got an auto dialer, and it will sit down and dial every possible combinations of mechanical lock. Takes about a week to get there, get faster. And there's a black box now I can get from Lockmaster. So most, not all, digital safe locks that you buy have a master reset code. They'll be on a piece of paper sealed. I keep that because my customers can't keep it as a service call for me. But that master code will set it back to factory default. Lockmaster system out with a black box, about $4,000. You plug it to it, it's sci-fi. You leave it alone for a few minutes, it pops up that master reset code. So that's going to be what you guys are going to be trying to keep that software from being hacked, because they're basically going in there, they're hacking whatever language is going on and find the master reset code.
Did you look at our lock scale speakers?
I did. You got you're running. And I don't think you're running 26 bit. I think you're running a higher bit rate because you don't. I haven't seen the cars that look like HID. Just they're E-class.
Yeah.
So, yep. This is my favorite. This is their new style. So this has. We'll do. Have you done any classes with kind of stuff? You want to talk about?
Yeah.
26-bit. Do you guys use 26-bit encryption for anything still? You've all moved into token or some sort of second factor. Your security, I'm guessing. Your flipper. The flipper is really good. And I don't play with flipper a lot, but I'm sure most of you may have played with flipper. And have you been trying to capture anybody's credit card information and/or their card information on 26-bit?
That would be illegal.
That would be illegal.
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly. Works very well, does it not? Yeah. So they've went to, the automotive industry was one of the first to get it. They've went to a handshake now. And so there's encrypted data that has to match before they'll allow that card to go. And this is a good card. These are high security. I don't think that I could grab this. They was making a tool for a while that, so price of products, the cars, you had to push your button to get in, like most cars. And they had one that was picking up that push and it wouldn't work, it didn't capture. And then people would push again because they thought the battery was dead. The more they pushed, the more information they got. And they would hack it, they would walk back the car. So Price was having a real issue with that. I think they were hacking, well, you can correct me, I think they were hacking real time on deals to drive and they shut down.
Back to the rolling codes for the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is if you do that, it messes up it won't work again.
Oh,
You'll unlock it that one time and you'll basically break it.
Receiver fried. Yeah, so, you got any more questions on electronic? I'm sure you guys are probably lighter than me on electronic. I'm just no locks that replace locks, but have to have notice on working knowledge just doesn't get by.
So how do you see lock picking being applied to folks that are in the cybersecurity space?
Pen testing is going to be commercial doors. If you're trying to get to show a customer their weaknesses, there's all sorts of ways. Yours is pretty secure because there's no mags involved, like you were talking about. The only door that I see vulnerable is your under the door tag on your glass door downstairs.
You talk about that.
Yeah. So I look up the commercial door, hospital door, and I've got a standard outswing door, motel rooms, things of that nature. It's got just your standard lever on it, your deadlocking latch. They've got a tool that basically, if I've got an eighth of an inch under that door, the tool is long and bendable. It has a metal flag on the end of it. There's a string tied here back to the handle. And I slide into that door and I pull that string and that thing straightens up. It's like here, it's like inside the door. And then I slide over and I know when I'm over that, so it actually goes over this. And it goes over the door to me. And the string pulls on. And I just pull the string and pull the inside handle because it can't lock in there. So it's easy to grasp. And anything like flint, nobody knows. That's a, I bet your pen testers use now. Yes, sir.
So I have seen different like videos of like different companies, you know. And one of the attacks I saw is they're using like compressed air. And I was curious to see where that sort of applies, like what kind of.
So the probably I'm guessing going out to the Request X. I've seen Smoke Guys and some others.
Yeah.
I
was curious on that.
I'm hesitant whether that works well or not. The reason I said that is the motion sensors that I use, like you've got a Request X right there.
Right.
That should be a combination of PIR and microwave. I can't use exclusive microwave because it sees water flowing in pipes. So that's not good. So they have PIR that is infrared. And so it's looking for a body temperature and movement. So people, I get a lot of alarms with false alarms. They go, oh, my curtain must have done it. Well, no, because it ignores your curtain. They don't care what's moving. They say motion sensor, they kind of just know.
Right.
My PIRs have both built in, or my motion request exits. So I have to have actual movement, and then I have to have infrared signature. And that infrared signature has to move on a specific grid over a specific time. I can adjust all that. So a burger motion sensor, you know, I think Mythbusters did the white sheet test. They held the sheet up and trying to get in.
Yeah.
So my motion sensor here, let's pretend that's the face of motion sensor and all electronics. This is gridded off to that motion sensor. And it's going to be sectors. And I can set how many of these have to be blocked versus how many don't versus how long they're blocked. So if I have a tree out in your front yard and it's this section, I can say, okay, ignore this, ignore this, ignore this, ignore this, ignore this. And that tree can blow all day long, no problem. Pet detector is something similar. I throw pets up to 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I'm ignoring everything within a certain range. No, we're gonna have a range, it's gonna be a linear range. Okay, how far from the detector, so it drops off, kind of on the curve. How far from the detector and how many pixels is it covering? Obviously, the further away, the less those you cover. So I can say, I don't want to see your pet hound dog, you can lay on the couch, I don't care. So if you don't get hit by a little person.
Right. That's fine. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Yes.
So block picking and all these other things we've talked about have been alternative ways to get access to a thing. So what is your favorite way of alternate access that's not block picking to like get into like a building or a car? What was like the most interesting way you've seen somebody get access?
Mercedes has a lock terminal. The only way you can do it is take the license plate, wrap it off, and drill a little bitty hole in there, and you can actuate the lock actually with an actual coat hanger. Other than that, I built a lot. I had some ideas because necessity being the mother of invention. I've been in the middle of nowhere, and the quickest way, like if you've got a drop ceiling and that handle, I got you with my belt because I'm gonna put a ladder up, I'm gonna pop 2 tiles and a leather belt, and we'll open the door up in no time. I don't have a problem very much. Leave my belt over and get it open and put my belt back on.
It works.
Yeah, it works. And try to be inventive. I've seen some. Our local prison, the guys in the jails one night, they filled all the locks full of feces and toilet paper, and took all their clothes off and started yelling. And they called me to deal with it, and I go in and I just looked at it and I said, I don't take it, play with these feces. And I said, when's the last time you boys ate? Well, I don't know. But it's gonna be a couple of weeks. So, it doesn't last us to be taught, but yeah, I go today. I got to where I won't be. I'll try not to be crass or rude, but I run into, you name it, happens. I go to the river. We have scenic riverways, and a lot of canoers, a lot of drunk, a lot of lost kids. And for the first 20 years of my life, porn wasn't part of my life because every guy thought they could get a deal by showing me his wife's new boobs. And I got to where I charged another $10. So 10 per side. Because they would say, hey, honey, he'd be drunk. She comes down and up there, and he goes, show me.
How about for, say you had a door like downstairs, or another, you take the glass out and
Yeah, those stops are normally not, so most glass companies do not harden their doors against suction cup injury. So you've got your big glass commercial door, and they're sitting on rubber stops all the way around. And those snap together pieces that cover those stops and actually hold that glass in place are kind of, they're kind of like this, and they've got a jagged style edge that snaps into a matching channel. You literally just set it down there, rubber hand, and beat it in place. The glass guys have a tool that goes over and it slides real thin. They go over and unlock those. They like take your windshield out. It's real thin. They just pop them off your reading. They put their suction cups on there. One guy waits, he gets enough of those out, and they pull a block or two, and they pull that glass out and set it aside, go and do their business, put it back in. I know my neighbor, he works for Miller Glass in Rommel, and he's like skis and Ford pickup, and he had the suction cups in the back, and he would take the back glass out of the pickup, his skis and put it back. For about 2 minutes. And that's called. Yeah, good point. The glass, these need to be one way, and they do make them, but they only snap in one side. And I'm not sure, so I'm sure goodness they hit that.
that's the thing for, us as ethical hackers, you look at that and go, what other way can I get in there? Well, it's, what someone's written code for. They've written code that you're always gonna go into the door.
I say keep security on it, never goes together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't lock you in a room legally. So if there's always gonna be an egress from this side. So your guys, you got it set up where you have an alarm that kicks off through an illegal exit. So I'm sure when you guys look at your software for your card readers, it'll say, it'll store an alarm that says unauthorized exit, because they didn't use a card first. Now you can card both sides and make them use a card, one function entry to get out. The door's locked, and you can physically make them move. Now, obviously, prisons and things have locked doors, but for your general public liability, they're not going to let them be locked behind a fire door. Now, I have some in certain rooms of hospitals and psychiatric wards with type of fire alarm, and the door automatically unlocks the fire alarm. But they're, I'm probably incorrect here, but I think didn't one of the school shooters here not too long ago post himself on the hill and set the fire alarm on the way people run out so you can shoot him, if I remember right, too long ago. That's a real crappy way to do things, but that's social engineering. If I wanted to clear a building and I wanted to dress up like a fireman and I wanted to get everybody out of there so I could go pilfer with the safe or drop a thumb drive in your network or things of that nature. So how many people knows my fingernail colors today? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I originally done this. I talked to a brother about losing my sister. And every year I paint my fingernails, but it's been such a social experiment because I get a judgment most often, good, bad, or ugly, from most people, and I'm Magville where I'm at, and maybe here too. I don't know. But I get to camp in your head for free. So this is a really good part of the social engineering experiment for me because every one of you get to say, okay, I'm going to make a snap judgment. I don't know this guy. I met this person. And so they're saying, okay, he is what? And now I can bring my buddy in with no fingernails. You're all of a sudden, buddy, you're friends. I mean, it's really interesting how people can get turned. If I was going to try to break into your facility, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make friends like this. I'm going to come in 2, 3, 4 times. I'm lost. I got a flat tire. Whatever I can do to endear myself to anyone in the room. And from that point, it's just, I'm supposed to be here. I can sign it. I can do it. You're going to have a record of me. Then maybe too late. That happens in our banking system.
Who here has done social engineering? Yeah.
So it's fun. I mean, if you're carrying a kilt board and a hard hat and a yellow end vest, and you walk in and you say, "Where's the elevator room?" You got a stack of keys, whether they fit or not. 9 times out of 10, somebody's gonna let you by. They don't say it because people don't like confrontation. That's a normal human endeavor. If I got a little bit agitated with it, so my boss said I'm supposed to be here. There's a stupid ticket. People are like, "Oh, okay, sorry, man." And let's back off. So, I'll go ahead and say something.
I thought it was kind of yours identifying just the twins, so we could tell the difference.
Or you should just sit your hand so many times with one of your tools up there.
I dabble with magic, and if you're not familiar with a thumb, where you put, you see the people, they hold up the cloth, and all of a sudden they wad up their hand, it's gone. It's called a thumb tip. And it's basically a plastic thumb that looks like a thumb, and you can pull it off, you can still pull off or something, put it back on, you can do your thing, nobody knows your difference. The better magicians will do that, and they'll have that thumb tip bright red, and you won't even know it. You'll never see it. Really interesting. I did a class with a guy that was a master pickpocket. Take your watch that time. He was a very interesting fellow. Dangerous guy. He practiced this a lot of years. There's a gentleman I know, he's 90 now. He last time I talked to him, he was trying to be the highest pole vaulter for his age. He hired some guy in Arkansas, he's pole vaulting 90. But anyway, his name is Charlie. And for 20 years, he done a mentalism act in Kansas City, 260 a year. They have a mentalism language. And basically, his wife would go to the crowd and say, "Hello, Charlie, this is such and such." And everything she said, give away in normal conversation, credit card number, anything you want to see, he's blindfolded on stage. It's pretty interesting how the magic part of it has worked in my social engineering skills. Yeah, awesome. More questions? Yes.
I'm just curious, have you ever thought about trying to invent a lock? Like, with your expertise?
Every day. I put a few patents together. It's a tough gig. A friend of mine invented an alarm clock that was shaped like a turkey, and it gobbled every time he woke up for hunting. And his royalties on that, I think, are $20 by now. He got a patent, he got everything done, China stole it, and that's the end of that. So, I'm pretty well happy to sit back and let the other guys do it. I love engineering stuff, tools and whatnot. But that's an expensive problem. I tell Wes it's fine, so
Yes, a little different direction, but on vehicle ignition systems, would you say that they're pretty much hot wire proof nowadays?
they've been hot wire proof since hot wire proof, that's not fair. General Motors came out with one of the first ones. It was a resistor-based system back in the 90s for the Corvette, and basically had 15 different resistance values on the chart, and your key had a resistor in it. And you put it in, if it matched, the little security boxes mounted in gel underneath the dashboard, and it energized your fuel rail and or your start relay. Yeah, anything you're seeing on TV where they're hot wired, any kind of vehicle that's 1995 and newer is probably BS. The tooling, though, has made it for Chrysler, for instance. If you lost your keys to a 2014 Dodge Ram pickup, I'm 3 minutes and gone. I walk with my programmer. It's got that plastic style ignition called phobic, the wind module. I plug into that, make a key, program, delete, whatever I want to do. I can draw the pin number, supposed to be a secure number on a secure gateway module, and I'm gone maybe 3 minutes. So I'm sure the crooks are packing these tools. So I guess to answer your question, kind of yes. They're not going to go up there and pull wires from the dash anymore and do that kind of stuff.
Getting right tools.
It's all about tools. It's all about knowledge. Took me a while to realize that knowledge in any kind of form. I'll tell humorous, not so humorous now, it is now, but at the time it was so great, but it taught me a really good humility lesson. And there was 3 foot of snow on. I was unlocking a house for a gentleman. I get there and I couldn't see the sidewalk, and I pulled my van over the sidewalk and I high center in my truck. And I'm just sitting there rocking. And my sister's with me. She's laughing her butt off. I open the house, I get back, go back to my truck, and this guy comes up, and earlier he'd walked by and he looked like he was homeless. He just had beat up a truck and just like decisions in life weren't the best he'd ever made. And this guy, I said something derogatory about that, and my sister's like, hey, that's gonna cost you. So anyway, here I am hung on this snowbank, and this guy stops his truck, he gets out, he walks back, hey mister, he goes, want me to pull you off? And I'm like, yes please. So he pulls me off there, puts the little 4-wheel drive beater up, he pulls me right off, and my sister's just dying laughing but now. And this guy goes, what's going on? And I hang him $100 bill, and I said, here. He goes, oh no, you don't owe me nothing, bitch. I said, trust me, I learned a valuable life lesson because you do something I didn't. And it stuck with me. I was a little more teenager then. That stuck with me. It's kind of the old joke. The guy he has his tractor trailer stuck downtown, so when it comes to the bridge, you can't get under. He's out there, he's looking, looks over the fence, there's saving sign there. The guy goes, hey, this, come here. He walks in, what? He goes, if you'll let a little air out of all your tires, it's going to load that truck just enough to get under that bridge. And right down there to the grocery store, you can air it back up and be on your way. The guy goes, what are you doing? He goes, well, I might be crazy, but I'm not stupid. There's really lessons to be learned. So I try to treat people with love and respect everywhere I go because knowledge is power, friends. I mean, if you know something someone doesn't, you're ahead of the game in almost anything. So, more questions? Everybody done playing? I'll be here for a while yet. If anyone wants to play with this stuff, I'll teach you how to use it in any way, shape, or form. Yes?
Did you ever lose a key and then have to ring on it?
Yeah, it's happened. I've now got 50 of everything, but my keyboard's full. It's no incident. But luckily for me, I've normally got the key blank in stock and I can get myself.
I once had a padlock and I lost its key and it was like it was back home. So that's when I don't have a knowledge to break one. Like you tried to cut it with a blade and it took me hours.
Yeah, oh goodness. Yeah, I had to hand file. I first learned my lesson hand filing all my keys. I didn't have keys for this one. So, but I subscribe to a locksmith forum and we get stories every week. And a tame one was this lady. She was dressed, she was cut out of bed. She had her normal bed clothes on and she stepped out. They had a security door and the main house door, just enough room. She stepped between it to wave her husband goodbye and her kid went out the back door to go to school, and the door, such a slammed door. She was silhouetted, locked between her own screen door, and she standing with a cup of coffee and negligee for 3 hours waiting for the mailman to come let her out.
I do one better than that. We rented a condo in North Carolina years ago. We were on the 12th floor, and we stepped out on the deck. This was in the winter time, there were a lot of people there. And one of those boards fell down. They had one or pull up, and it fell down street phone. Could open the last door, had no phone. We're yelling at people. Hey, nobody can hear us. We were there for 6 hours. Ooh.
I've had a couple of older ladies almost freeze to death. It happens twice. This one lady walked a half a mile to the foot of snow barefoot. She was 85 to get to the neighbor's house because she couldn't break her safety glass with a rock. So it happens. It goes bad. It goes bad to her.
Yeah.
It normally catch you off guard. Yes. You have a question?
Yeah, I've actually also seen a common attack where somebody would get a picture of a key and then they would model it in like AutoCAD and then they would go and CNC it with like metal or try to 3D print it. And I was curious, some of those higher level locks, I wonder if that's also
We've got a way easier to called clamp.
Yeah.
And it's a device that comes, it's a little metal pouch,
Yeah.
and you open it up, and it's got clay in it. And if you get a hold of the key, busy, you lay it in there, and smash it into pieces, put the piece of rubber band, and squeeze it. That makes an imprint in that clay, and then you give the key back or put it back and take it. And then they have an actual solder that you melt with a lighter, and you pour it in there, and let the mold harden, and the key's strong enough to be used several times. So and I've also, there's a CNC machine out now that's 10,000, and their key blanks have smiley faces on them. And they do just what you said. It'll later cut that key. They just image it, prints before it.
Yeah.
And so that's been out a while. I can't afford it now. It's not working for me, but that part of the mechanical, it's sad, but that part is, I don't know what they're gonna do about that, if anything.
Yeah, because it's impersonating the key exactly as it is, right?
It's actually made immediately. Now, they're trying to, so Schlage and some other manufacturers got together and they have interactive keys now that circumvent that. And basically what it is within that key, there's a floating ball bearing in several places, and it's a movable entity. And when they insert that key, it has to interact with another moving part to get that shear line they're talking about. And that defeats a lot of that because that they can't machine CNC that small enough to get that interactive part. So they're trying.
That's crazy. That's a cool idea too, though.
I appreciate it. Let's thank you guys very much. Hope I wasn't too talkative.
No, it's good. Thanks for coming out there.
So, I'll stick around and talk as long as you guys want. Like I say, anything you want to play with here on the table, let me know if you have questions.
Yeah, have another cookie, come up and meet Rommel and.